Alright, the first Fantome ride line is here, with the Fantome cards, from being a Grim Reaper to a Healing Angel, so let's begin. So before we begin, more information about the prequel manga. Here's the main character being Kagetsu of course, and the girl by his side is actually now sister being Sugu Inabe, which makes me wonder if she will show up in the anime at all. And then before we begin with the ride line, to the most important card to every Fantome deck seemingly, we got the 2 Crimson Moon cards. And spoiler alert, you can't play a total of 8, because their skills is going to make it where you can only run a total of 4. So we start off with the Crimson Moonlight, which is the base version, and it's a normal order that is also a Crimson Moon card, and you play if your Vanguard's a Fantome, and I mean Fantome as a race. So you look at top Vanguard's deck to choose up to 1 card from among them, reveal it, and if you did not reveal a card, you shuffle your deck and draw a card. But if you do reveal a card, perform one of the following. If the revealed card is grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, call it to rearguard, but if it's a Crimson Moon card, you put it to your hand. With the other skills being more of a restriction, count, this card cannot be bound by anything other than the cost of a Fantome skill, which is a new type of skill for Fantome units, similar to a Divine skill, but it could be used more than once, and it also has the ability of Count Bind Zone. This card cannot be chosen by either card abilities or be moved to other zones, basically to avoid being recycled, and also has a pretty neat ability where Act Damage Zone, put this card to the drop zone, and put the top card of your deck to the damage zone, which is pretty nice because if this card goes to damage, you could at least recycle this, and in a way to filter your deck. But it's more so you could reuse your Fantome skills, because imagine these go into your damage zone and then you just can't use your Fantome skills. But essentially, for any Fantome deck, you just have to run 4 of these, as basically they're just your cost fodder for your Fantome units. And luckily, Bushiroad decided to make a budget version unlike they did with Masques of Hydrogram, which in this one's case is enveloping the planet in the Crimson Disease, which once again is a nationless normal order that is also for a Crimson Moon card, and you play if your Vanguard's Fantome. And just like the other one, you look at top 5 cards of your deck to choose up to 1 card from among them to reveal it, and then perform one of the following. Call that unit if it's grade less than equal to your Vanguard, if it's a unit card, or if it's a Crimson Moon card, you put it to your hand. With the other ability that count, this card is also regarded as Crimson Moonlight, basically the double rare version, so basically it will be counted as your 4 copies for deck building, and cannot be bound by any card abilities other than through Fantome skills. With the same Count Bind Zone ability, cannot be moved to other zones and cannot be chosen, and the same Damage Zone ability where cost, put this to the drop zone to put the top card of your deck to the damage zone. In a practical sense, technically a budget and same card as the other one, except that it doesn't have the draw ability if you wish to do that, and not being treated as the original Crimson Moonlight, because sometimes there might be cards to nullify abilities, so there is that part as well. But regardless, I do like that they made a budget version, so I'm happy that they actually made it a little more budget friendly for those players who just can't afford more copies of the other one. And besides, these are meant to be costs for your Fantome units. Kinda unfortunate that you can only run a total of 4, but I do get the idea, since technically the Fantome skills is supposed to be like a Divine skill as well, except that they could be used more than once depending on how you pay the costs. And now to the ride line itself. So here's the new Fantome version of Cavalry Malaysia with a title on it, and keep in mind this one does have Fantome and Race, so that might be relevant. And then to the new Hollow Raptor, which is still the grade 1 with AK power, which is also a Fantome unit. When rolled upon by the new Phantom Fang, search your deck for up to 1 Crimson Moon card and put your soul, and then force shuffle your deck. Once again, a ride line that directly searches for your key piece. In this case now, it's going to be your main cost card. And then to the grade 2 with Tenki power, the new Phantom Fang, which once again is a Fantome unit with the skill Auto. When rolled upon by your at least grade 3 Blangdmire, cost soul last 1, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck to choose up to 1 card from among them and put to your hand, and then you can put the rest of the cards to the drop zone or shuffle the remaining cards to the deck. So few things that this do. 1, it soul blasts 1, which could be the Crimson Moon card, and 2, not only that it could search from the top 3, but putting the rest of the stuff to the drop zone actually sets up for the new Blangdmire's playstyle. Because spoiler, because this is Blangdmire we're talking about, it focuses around binding. In this case now, it's going to be the drop zone. But once again, typical ride line that just sets you up. And now we go to the grade 3 with 13k power, Zero Salvation Blangdmire Fantome, which has a skill Act Vanguard once per turn, cost counterblast 1, bind 4 cards from your drop zone, and then until the end turn it gets these skills. Count Vanguard, all your front row units gets plus 5k power, but if your bind zone has at least 10 cards face up, they also get another 5,000 power. And then if there's at least 13 cards face up, another 5,000. Getting the 10 cards might be doable by the time you hit your second grade 3 turn, especially since you're counting the Crimson Moon binds. But the 13 is definitely going to need a little more effort. Especially in addition, it has this other part where Auto Vanguard, when this card attacks, choose a face-up card from your bind zone and call it to rearguard. So ready, inherit 4 attacks with some extra power. So ready, it's kind of the opposite of Blangdmire. Instead of binding them face down, it's face up, and is similar to Nexus' case, actually fighting with your friends, hence why calling a unit. And also powering up your front row instead of just powering up himself. So ready, it's pretty decent, but then we go to the Fantome skill, where at Vanguard, once per turn, costs Energy Blast 3, find a total of at least 2 to 4 Crimson Moon cards from hand, soul, or drop, and then perform all the following based on the number of Crimson Moon cards in your bind zone. So if you have at least 2 Crimson Moon cards, choose 1 card from your drop zone and call it to rearguard. But if you have at least 4, crit +1 to the end turn. But if you persona during the turn, you also heal 1 card in the damage zone. And this is what I mean that Fantome skills can be used more than once, because one thing you can do is bind 2 and then bind another 2 in another turn, meaning that you can use it twice in a game. And because they are getting bound, it is going to be added to your Blangdmire's bind count. But once again, I do love that this is an angelic Blangdmire that actually gives life, hence the name Salvation, and the abilities to bring stuff out instead of basically turn stuff to 0, like the original Blangdmire giving nothing to your opponent. So overall, it's pretty awesome, with some interesting twists to the playstyle of the original Blangdmire. And seeing that this is an anime unit that is probably going to be a one-time use, and a one-time version of the character, I really do hope that they do more stuff with this deck. Because I'm always worried about awesome concepts being forgotten practically, similar to what happened to pretty much all the Destined ones except for few. And now we go to the support, starting with Knight of Consideration Resto, which is grade 1 with key power, and the skill is auto drop. When you bind cards during the main phase, and your bind zone has at least 10 cards, bind a card from hand to call this to rearguard. The only point of this is really just to increase your bind count, but you're practically trading 1 card for another card that usually won't make too much of a difference. So personally, I won't even run this. And then we go to Knight of Conquered Estrina, which is a grade 3 with 13 power, and the skill is auto rearguard. When this card attacks a Vanguard, if your bind zone has a card, into the end of the battle, this card gives us 5k power, and then at the end of the battle, bind this unit. But if it was placed by the ability of your at least grade 3 Blangdmire during the turn, it gets plus 10k instead. In a similar way to basically Bombling Juggler or the Colossus, get some extra power to bind it just to increase your bind count. And the cool thing that you can do with this is that you could attack with it first, and then after that bind it to clear up your board, and then use Blangdmire to superior call it or just another unit. So I could see some usage for this one, but I could definitely see it being taken out for something better than this. And then to a card that you will be running is Knight of Condemnance Advol, which is a grade 1 with power, and the skill is auto. When placed from rearguard from hand, choose at least a grade 3 Blangdmire from right deck, and if either that card or your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Blangdmire, look at top card of your deck to choose up to 1 card from among them to put it to the drop, and of course shuffle your deck, which is very good because this is basically choice searching, and Blangdmire can bind from the drop zone to recall it, and this is also free, so already it's a 4-up, especially added on top with the second skill where auto backward rearguard once per turn. When your other rearguard is placed in the same column as this unit during the battle, aka through Blangdmire skill, if you have at least a grade 3 Vanguard Blangdmire, cost Soul Blast 1, stand this unit. So basically a restanding booster. So in a practical sense, free search with some extra power for boosting rearguards. This is a must play. And then to the new Zamoog, Knight of Inspection Zamoog, which is a grade 2 with 10 power, and the skill is auto. When placed on rearguard, if your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 2, reveal a at least grade 3 Blangdmire from your right deck, and if either that or your Vanguard is at least a grade 3 Blangdmire, cost Counter Blast 1, look at top 2 cards of your deck to choose up to 1 card from among them to put to your hand and put the other one to the bottom of the deck or to your soul. Technically only usable in the early game if you went second, or you're already on your grade 3, because of the part where your opponent has to be at least grade 2 or you're already at grade 3. And Counterblast 1 just for a top 2 search is kind of very iffy to me. I wish it was actually a little more cards from the top cards. But oh well, the main part is actually the second skill where auto rearguard. When this card attacks while you have at least a grade 3 Vanguard Blangdmire, this card gets plus 5k power in turn, but if your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3, and this card was placed by card ability through your Vanguard's ability this turn during battle, this card gives us 10k instead. And if it got plus 10k, costs Energy Blast 3, and it can get crit plus 1 the end turn. Basically, unlike original Zamoog where you could actually get a crit plus 1 at any moment, although just restricted to only getting plus 5k, this one is restricted to only called by battle through Blangdmire, being another superior call target basically, and it's just of course one of your main battle phase cards with some extra nice crit pressure, especially for basically a 4 attack deck. And into our last card for the Blangdmire Fantome, Knight of Charity Bad Deck, which is a great one where you can power the skill is Auto Bind Zone. When your rearguard was placed during the bind zone during battle phase, while you have a Fantome Vanguard and you do not have a copy of this card on rearguard, bind a card with different card name from your drop zone to call this to rearguard in the back row. Basically, it's a superior call booster that also keeps your bind count. Kind of funny that we have a restand booster and a superior call booster, but this could actually be helpful, especially if you have an open rearguard that wasn't already filled up, so it's not entirely too bad. But the second skill is Auto Rearguard. When placed other than during battle, if you have a Fantome Vanguard, look at top of your deck to choose up to one Blangdmire from among them or one Crimson Moon card, reveal it and put it in your hand, of course, of your deck. Well, consistency boost means that you should probably run 4 of them. Especially for the last skill where Auto Rearguard at the end of battle this unit boosts while you bind zone has a Crimson Moon card and you did not countercharge during the turn, you can retire this unit to countercharge 1. Considering all the cards are already using counterblocks for the deck, having countercharge is always pretty nice. So essentially, it's a free call card that also can give you some extra consistency. Although you can't link the first and second skills together, it's still fine because this card also adds countercharging, especially since it's the deck that actually really needs countercharge. And finally to our last card, which is actually generic for Fantome units, and they might make one of these for each nation, and maybe even more Fantome units in the future if they actually do that, but it's Knight of Ambitious Wings Kaga Flat, which is a grade 2 with 10 power on the skill is Auto, when discard from hand while riding for your ride deck. If you have a Fantome Vanguard, cost Soul Blast 1 or Energy Blast 3 to search your deck for one Crimson Moon card, reveal it and put it in your hand, of course shuffle your deck. With the second skill where Auto, when put on Guardian from hand while you have a Fantome Vanguard, cost Counter Blast 1 or Energy Blast 3 to draw a card. Basically, discard fodder or guard fodder for Fantome decks. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be shared with pretty much all the nations. And luckily, since it's not generic for every single deck and Fantome decks are very limited, this might not be too expensive. And I really hope it actually stays that way. And then finally, here's a secret rare, and next week we got Burokria's ride line for the new character, which I really hope it's going to be a Stokea ride line that doesn't die, and hopefully it might be unique. And so that's it for the new Blangdmire Fantome ride line with the Crimson Moon stuff. What do you guys think of it? Being the first Fantome unit, I was not really expecting much anyway, but oh boy, it does do a little more than I thought it would, especially since it's technically a new form of an old unit. Especially with the concept of the Fantome units being alternate versions of the base unit, hence why there are still some similarities to the original. And I also love the idea of the new Fantome skill, as I've been waiting for more Divine skill units, but Fantome skill kind of works as well, considering that I was actually thinking that they were going to make something like a Divine skill for the Fantome units, but similarly, it's a skill that is restricted on a certain amount of times per game, which makes me wonder if they're going to make a Divine Fantome skill one day. But overall, it's a pretty awesome ride line that has some similar roots to his original playstyle. Technically a 4-attack deck that also still does the binding, just helping allies instead of turning people to 0. But on that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.